The other day, I was scrolling through Baseball Savant, as I normally do, when I discovered something I hadn't seen before: the teammates visualization. In this tab, you could type in any player that has ever played the game and get a nice visualization of who they've played with. The bigger the circles are in this visualization, the more years that these players had played together, and the more circles in total show more teammates over the course of their career. And after I got done searching some of my favorite players, I had a thought. Who has had the most teammates ever? There was no leaderboard for this on Baseball Savant, and another failed Google search later, I realized that I was on my own for the second straight week to do some digging to answer my question. So let's start by analyzing my process on how I plan to tackle this project. The first thing I did was to look at the different ways a player could generate more teammates. Let's take a look at an example. Imagine we are looking at player A's teammates during his first day in the big leagues. Depending on the point of the year, the big league roster should be about 26. So that means that player A, over his short career of one day, would have 25 teammates. The longer he stayed at the big league level, then there would be more transactions. Say a player gets injured or called down to the minors, a new player must come up to replace him. So that adds one more player to his total teammate count, because he had still been teammates with the player who got bumped down, but now he has added another individual to his list with the new player being called up. Make sense? So my first thought was to look at all of the oldest players in the league, as they would have endured the most transactions over the course of their careers, to try and answer my question of who has had the most teammates over their careers. So let's quickly take a look at the results from that search. I found a nice article released this year of the 10 oldest players on active rosters this opening day. The list goes as follows, listing out anywhere from 42 to 39-year-olds in this order. I then individually searched all of these players' names in the Teammate Visualization tab on Baseball Savant to discover who on this list has had the most teammates. The answer was Oliver Perez, at 40 years old, was the leader. But looking at the rest, it didn't seem like age was the biggest determining factor in who had had the most teammates. At 40 years old, right alongside Perez, is Adam Wainwright, with only 281 teammates over his career. Why was this? Well, Wainwright has been with one team over his entire career, while Perez has played for 8 teams. So we needed to shift our focus, and I noticed that that wasn't even the biggest flaw with our list. I wanted to know who had the most teammates ever, and this list was currently just listing out players that are currently on active MLB rosters. So it was back to the drawing boards. So with the information that age was not our biggest determining factor of most teammates, we changed the game plan to look at players who have played with the most teams, which makes sense. While trades happen less frequently than daily roster additions, when a player moves to a new team, they get 25 brand new teammates at the snap of their fingers. So let's look into players who have played for multiple teams. The first person that came to mind was Big Bad Bartolo Colon, a guy who has been around for a long time, who played for many teams and played the game into his 40s as well. In searching Bartolo, he was immediately bumped up to the top of my list, with 716 teammates across 11 teams in his playing career. I really thought that was going to be hard to beat. And after searching Bartolo, I found a convenient tab on Baseball Reference that listed out players alongside the number of franchises they've been a part of. Nearly 60 plus athletes deep. I found Ricky Henderson with 724 teammates. I found Terry Mulholland with nearly 800 teammates. And that was it. I spent the rest of the afternoon searching, and I couldn't find anyone with any more teammates, until I stumbled upon one player. Any guesses on who? Pause the video now and leave your guesses in the comments below. The player who I have determined to have the most teammates is the only player in MLB history to have played for 14 different teams, with a whopping 871 teammates. The one and only Edwin Jackson. And that's it. That's my answer. Edwin Jackson has had the most teammates per my research in MLB history. But the fun part about this all is I could be wrong. I'd love to see if you could find anybody else who has more teammates than Jackson. Because I didn't search every player in the MLB. I used some specific factors that I thought would correlate strongly with having the most teammates. So there could be another player out there with even more teammates than Jackson had. So feel free to check this out for your own self. I've left a link down below to the visualizations tab for the most teammates. So what are the main takeaways here? The first for me is simple. It's fun to challenge your brain to come up with ways to answer a question. Any question. Now, the answer to this question isn't necessarily the important bit, as the only way this information is really going to benefit you in the future is if you find yourself at a nerdy MLB statistics trivia night. By the way, please tweet at me if you ever find yourself in a situation where this question is asked. But what is important is the process. Starting with a simple question. I wasn't turned away when I couldn't find the answer via a 2-second Google search. My process was even interrupted and proven incorrect when I ran into that age barrier issue. But I didn't stop there. All of the twists and turns of this project are what made it so interesting. And for you, this is less about teammates and more about the capabilities of public research, utilizing sites like Baseball Savant. There are so many unanswered questions in our sport that you can find the answer to just by putting some of your time and energy towards it. I find something new to play with on sites like this every week, it feels like. So, immerse yourself in it and see what answers you can find. And remember, when you run into roadblocks, it's the experience of problem solving that matters most, not always the end result. Thanks for tuning in to today's video, guys. If you enjoyed, please hit that subscribe button. If you want to keep learning more, here's a video and a playlist that I think you'd enjoy checking out. I'll catch you in the next one.